Hi, it's Rich here. Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring this episode of 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. If you haven't heard, AG1 is a comprehensive and convenient blend of over 70 high-quality ingredients, and it's so easy to drink. The first thing I do when I get up in the morning is add a scoop of AG1 to some cold water, give it a shake and drink. It's as easy as that, and it's now part of my morning ritual. As the new year gets underway, I like the fact that AG1 is one of the easiest things I can do for my health. AG1 contains vitamins and nutrients to support my immune system and key minerals and natural ingredients to help me maintain my energy levels and focus. As AG1 is a more-in-one supplement, it's so much simpler than stocking up on lots of different types of vitamins and supplements, and a really easy way to support a healthier lifestyle, especially as we're coming out of the gluttony of Christmas. 1 scoop of AG1 per day supports energy, digestive regularity, immune defence and a healthy mood, so I'll be ready to take on whatever 2025 has in store for me. Looking to give AG1 a shot? Subscribe now and get a free bottle of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription. Go to drinkag1.com/1865 and get started today. That's drinkag1.com/1865.
This episode is brought to you by Love Hurts. Kiwi Kwan has had quite a career, from childhood roles in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Goonies to a recent Academy Award win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But now Ki finally stars as a leading man in the film Love Hurts. Love Hurts is the perfect date night movie with its mix of over-the-top action, comedy, and a ton of heart. Love Hurts. Only at theaters February 7th.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Hello and welcome to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast, as we digest Nottingham Forest's unbeaten run coming to an end as they lost to Bournemouth on the south coast. I'm your host, George Edwards, and I was at the game. So was Tom Newton. We will discuss how it happened, what went wrong, and what Forest can do after that 5-0 loss. Obviously, Kluivert scored in the first half. It was only 1-0 at half-time, but then there was a Dango Ouattara hat-trick in the second half, and Antoine Semenyo finished the job off for Bournemouth. It was an 18-game combined unbeaten run, so one of them was always going to come to an end. It looked like it might happen yesterday, but it was a surprise, I think, in the manner of how it happened. Forest were completely outclassed in every area of the pitch, and I don't think you could actually argue with the 5-0 scoreline by the end, Tom. So while we were all expecting it to happen at some point, were you surprised in the manner of both the performance and the result?
Yeah, they've been superb, haven't they, for the last few months and everything. And yeah, yesterday we folded like a deck chair, and it was like, I don't want to be too critical of the players because obviously they've done unbelievable this season, but it was like from a couple of years ago when we was on the road and we used to just, like, the first goal went in. Okay, it was only 1-0 at half time, but yeah, when the second goal went in and then they got a third, didn't they? Then it got ruled out for offside, and then they got a third a couple of minutes later, and the fourth and fifth. Yeah, it was pretty much a performance from like 2 years ago when we first got to the Premier League. So yeah, ultimately it was disappointing, but yeah, with the players on show yesterday, expect a hell of a lot better than what they showed.
And this season, obviously, we lost to Fulham narrowly. Apart from that, the losses have been very bad. You look at City, Newcastle, this one, and Arsenal. We've lost by 3 or more goals, and the performances have really been very whimperish, and Forest haven't put up much of a fight. So do you think that because maybe our style of play, that if it doesn't work, it looks very bad? Or why do you think that is, that Forest, when they lose, it looks terrible?
Probably a bit of belief. I mean, when they went to Arsenal, you could, like you and others, you can kind of know in the first 10 minutes what kind of performance you're going to get from Forest. I mean, I'll go back years ago when I played Huddersfield under Stuart Pearce, and even in the warm-up, it was piss poor. And then within the first minute, it was 1-0 down and we capitulated then. And I know this is a better side than them, but I just think it's a bit of a belief thing. And in the first 5-10 minutes, if things aren't going according to plan, kind of thing, or you haven't come out the traps quick enough, you're going to get punished at this level. And yesterday, I mean, Sales didn't have a lot to save, really, did he?
No.
But every single shot what was on his goal went in. And yeah, when I mean, even at this level, if you have like one player on an off day, it shows. But when you got the whole starting 11 on an off day, you're going to get absolutely punished at this level.
Let's look at that starting 11 then. So Forest made 2 changes from the last game against Southampton. It was Hudson-Odoi injured, not in the matchday squad, replaced by Jota Silva, and then Dominguez replaced by Yates, the change that happens on a matchday basis. So Matt Sells was in goal, Olaraina, Nikola Milenkovic, Murillo and Nico Williams, the back 4. Ryan Yates, Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White in the midfield, with Jota Silva, Elanga flanking Chris Wood. And you did mention the start time. Now, obviously, Bournemouth scored after 8 minutes, but Forest actually did start okay from kick-off. They had a long ball, they won it, and Elanga got a shot on goal. And then they actually had quite a lot of possession in the first few minutes before Bournemouth scored. So do you think that was maybe Forest's approach to get on the ball and impose themselves onto Bournemouth, or do you think Bournemouth maybe thought, let them have the ball early on and we'll kill them like they did?
I think it was a case of that's what we've been doing recently. We've got out the traps really quickly. I mean, against Liverpool, we scored after 8 minutes, didn't we? And and if that Elanga got stating the obvious, but if that Elanga shot goes in, it could be a completely different game. Like Forest will have the tails up and everything. But yeah, obviously, his shot didn't go in. Then 8 minutes later, Kluivert's scored, hasn't he? And it was an absolute sucker punch. So it's one of those where I wouldn't say Bournemouth say, "Here you go, Forest, go and have the ball," kind of thing. I do think we do come out the traps pretty quickly, but then Bournemouth did settle down after that, didn't they? And blew us away yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Let's look at that goal then, because it was a very Forest goal, wasn't it? They won it deep in their own half and they broke quickly. Obviously, Forest were quite open. They had a lot of bodies forward, so that was the only real thing they could do, really, drive through Forest midfield. And they only really had the back 4 to take on. Jota Silva got back. It's Kluivert drives from, 20 yards inside his own half over the halfway line to the edge of the box and gets a free shot away. Nobody closes him down. You can't consider goal like that in the Premier League, Tom. Have you got any culprits? Or, Yates and Anderson were jogging back as well. How could we have avoided that?
Yeah, I just think that they got out of that situation pretty quickly and then just ran on our goal, and it was all over the place. If you look at the replay, Aina obviously goes back into his position and Semenyo's coming onto him and Yotta's over there. So Yotta should have been a bit more aware possibly of coming across, but if he's looked where his central midfielders are and they weren't even in the picture, were they? And then Milenkovic has gone to Qatar, and I don't know where Murillo was, but yeah, they were all over the place. And you could see by the replays on Match of the Day that there's just no communication who to pick up, kind of thing. And Kluivert's like, well, no one's come up to me, so let's have a pop. And he did the same last week, didn't he, at St James's Park when they beat Newcastle up there. That would have been on the video analyst. He's like, don't give Justin Kluivert any space around the box, and the left an absolute acre for him to obviously attack into, and it's a decent finish, to be honest. It's right in the bottom corner. Sel's got no chance, but I think it could have been prevented if Forest were a bit more organised, and they weren't really. They were all over the place, and we got unduly punished for it.
Yeah, and obviously he sort of strolled through Forest midfield, and it wasn't the first time that happened. Throughout the 90 minutes, I thought the midfield was quite poor. But it was a strange feeling conceding first, because Forest, I think, have only done that, 5 times this season. And if I'm right, the only time they've won from behind was Villa. So from going behind, it felt strange. And, did you feel Forest could get back into the game after conceding first?
Yeah, because of how we played, I had a lot of confidence that we would get into the game, but because obviously they only scored early on, so there's plenty of time to get back into it. But I just thought then it was all Bournemouth. They're really good football inside. Let's not take anything away from them. And I know we're going to probably criticise the team's performance and everything, but Bournemouth are an outstanding football inside. Coach really well, and even though they've got a lot of injuries at the moment, Evan Nilsson's out and a few others and everything, but how they played yesterday were really good. And the kid at the back who's playing next to the Ukrainian, Elias Zabani, Is it Dean Hyson?
Yeah.
I think it's Spanish international, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's going to go to the very top, similar to Murillo. He was absolutely seamless yesterday. And there was one situation in the first half where Jota had about 3 or 4 yards on him, and he didn't even break sweat. It was a bit like how Van Dijk just like mops up, and he was superb yesterday. And Semenyo was superb, and Quattara, Justin Kluivert. And I think with Justin Kluivert, I mean, he left Ajax, went to Roma, and when you've got a father who's had a really good career, sometimes it's hard to have a decent career yourself. But he's been fantastic this season. And another thing, Kepa, as Malaga, he hasn't had a lot to say, has he?
No.
He's only had that Milinkovic. So I think it was a well below performance from everybody yesterday. And when you have one of them in the Premier League, you're not going to do anything, are you? When you put in a performance like that.
Yeah, and they settled really well. And I think what Forest couldn't really handle was the fact they obviously had Ouattara up front, who's not an out-and-out number 9. And around him, a lot of the players were sort of moving around. You saw Kluivert was often coming to the left, often going to the right, at the centre. And they had the 2 wingers alongside that as well. And with Kirkes pushing up, it gave that Hudson a lot of space to sort of find passes like Murillo often does. But one theme I think we discussed before the pod and a lot of fans were talking about was Jota from the start. I think obviously it means Elanga's on the other side as well, which Elanga's probably our only bright spark from the first half and throughout the game. But
I think Elanga was our best player yesterday.
Yes,
and, I mean, he did give them a lot to worry about, but then when the others are not on the same wavelength,
he can't do it on his own.
No, of course he can't. So he's not invincible, is he? So.
But let's talk about Jota, because a lot of fans were getting frustrated at him defensively. He does look a bit all over the place, and Aina was getting pretty overwhelmed. And I think there's a difference with Jota. I think off the bench, sometimes his driving energy that he brings is needed to spark the team back into life. But from the start, you saw it at Man City, Forest just can't keep the ball, get a foot in a game with him on the right-hand side. So I would have started Sousa instead of Hudson-Odoi. We'd certainly missed him. But what did you make of Jota's performance?
Pretty poor, to be honest. And I'm not just like jumping on the bandwagon because we've lost the game and criticising all the players out there, because like I've said, they've been absolutely fantastic this season to get in the position what they are. But I said this after the Spurs game on Boxing Day. I'm sorry, but I don't trust Jota. He may look like Jack Grealish, but he doesn't play like him. He started his Forest career okay. He got that goal against Newcastle in Carabao Cup, but I just think he's a bit of a headless chicken. I think he's like a cat following a laser beam, isn't he? And when you watch him, it's like I'm never going to say that I've played at any decent level. I've only played at Sunday League level at best. But when you constantly allowing your player like Kirkes yesterday getting on the wrong side of you, he panics. He's just got a lack of awareness of what's around him. I think he has to rely on a lot of the other players to like say, "Oh, where's my marker?" and everything. And I noticed this, like I says, in the Spurs game. It's like he came on and Maddison come on, and we know how good he is at set pieces, giving away stupid, cheap free kicks, and
there's no discipline, is there?
No. And then I think there was another game where he did okay. He cut that out of his game, but the last couple of games, I think he's a bit of a loose cannon, to be honest. And I've got more trust in Ramon Sousa because he tries to do the right things. I know he's very raw at the moment because he's come from South America. Obviously, he's got to like bet himself into the Premier League. But I'm a bit more trusting of Ramon Sousa. Like when he against Everton just after Christmas, he come on. He started the game, didn't he? With only 10 minutes notice because Murillo was up, and he had a really decent. Maybe he should have scored. But I trust him at the moment. I just don't trust Jota, and I don't want to like sound like I'm looking for a scapegoat or anything, but I just don't rate him. And if he like obviously improves and obviously and becomes a better player over time, I'll hold my hands up and think, okay, I've been proved wrong. But at the moment, I just don't trust him. And we've had Hudson-Odoi being injured, and sincerely hope it's not a long-term injury. We miss him, and people say, "Oh, we've got Jota, we won't miss Hudson-Odoi." Hudson-Odoi is a far greater player ability-wise than Jota Silva at the moment, and we missed him big time yesterday. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think if Hudson-Odoi isn't fit, you have to play someone like Sousa or that, because Jota just doesn't allow you to control the game. In terms of the first half, I think Forest quickly after Bournemouth scored had a a pop shot from about 20, 25 yards. Yates, bouncing ball, decent shot to be fair. Goalie made a save, Kepa. That was about it really that Forest created. They couldn't really find balls out through Anderson or Yates in midfield. They were often sort of seen coming out wide, weren't they, to try and get the ball because Forest just couldn't go through the middle. And apart from that, Forest creativity was pretty lacklustre. Bournemouth didn't create that much. Like you said, Sells didn't make much of a save, but they had control of the game at half-time. And we saw Dominguez bringing on for Ryan Yates at half-time. Tom, Yates didn't have the best game, neither did anyone. Do you think it was harsh from Nuno to make that change, or do you think Dominguez is ahead of him at the moment?
With Dominguez, I've got the same opinion as I was on a rival podcast from Red Side of the Track. We do love Nico Dominguez. I think what he does is a lot of it goes unnoticed. I think he's a fantastic footballer. Okay, he didn't have the best second half yesterday. Granted, nobody did, but I just think our midfield would be a lot better off with Elliot Anderson and Dominguez in there because they've got that energy and technically Nico Dominguez is a better footballer than Yates. And I don't want to go on too long about Ryan Yates because it's been done and been bored to death, hasn't it, about should he have a place in this team and everything. And I can see why Nuno picked Ryan Yates yesterday. It's basically just to be a nuisance in their stock of seamless machine, which is Bournemouth at the moment. But he wasn't at the races yesterday. And as Gabby on the horse says on TalkSport sometimes, he was miles off it. And he got hooked at half time and then Dominguez come on. And I can see why Dominguez come on, obviously, to press Bournemouth's midfield a bit more. But yeah, he come on and I think everybody capitulated around him, didn't they? And I don't think he did some good stuff, but when the team's playing like that, you're not going to have a good day. But no, I think when Dominguez is out the side, or when it's another game and people are saying, "Oh, Yates should come in," why is it always Dominguez what needs to get dropped? Because he seems to be a bit of the fall guy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I just think our midfield is a really strong unit when you've got both Elliot Anderson and then Dominguez, and obviously you've got Danilo to come back and Sangari to come back. And I mean, at the moment, Ward Prowse isn't getting sniffers. He's then getting like cup games and things like that. But yeah, like I said, Ryan Yates, he has got a place in the squad, but I wouldn't necessarily have him as a start. He's good in some games, and he's where he's going to be more effective than others. But I think if you've got aspirations of potentially playing in Europe next season, I think Nico Dominguez and Elliot Anderson should be the two in our midfield.
Just to play devil's advocate, I mean, I don't think Yates was the best, and hooking him was probably the right thing. But Forest conceded one goal with Yates on the pitch and 4 with Dominguez on the pitch. Do you think Dominguez had any input in that? Obviously, directly for one of the goals, but do you think he could have? Yates on the pitch would have considered less, or was it just a team performance? I think it was.
You're never going to know, and I'm not going to say Yates was the reason why we lost yesterday, and also I'm not going to say Dominguez was the reason why we let 4 goals in the second half. It's a team game, and I just think the players have put a lot into it, and if you look at the teams over what's been picked over the last few games, it might be a potential case of they're just probably tired. And I don't want to make excuses for them because obviously we've got to put better performance in than that. And obviously the data analyst team will know who's in the red zone and who needs a rest and all that type of thing. But yeah, I think it was game caught up with them yesterday and they were second best. And yeah, we're never going to know if Yates did stay on the pitch, would the scoreline be less than what it was yesterday? But yeah, it's a team game and obviously a squad game, and I think everybody was basically crap yesterday.
So into the second half then, as you mentioned, Forest's best chance came early on in the second half. Set piece and Milenkovic header looked like it was, from my angle, maybe just hitting the bar, but Kepa tipped it over. And that was one of Forest's biggest chance. And what annoyed me throughout the game was the set piece delivery, because I think we had 9 corners. We had quite a few positions in free kicks like that. And particularly, I think Elenga's our best player, but his set-piece delivery was pretty poor on the day. And I think when Anderson started to take corners in the second half, they did improve the quality. So when you're having an off day, Tom, I think you have to make sure that you get something right, like set pieces, because they give you a chance to get a goal out of nothing and give you something to, spike the performance. So was that something that frustrated you as well?
Yeah, it's a massive opportunity miss, because when things aren't going for you, like you've just said, make sure you set pieces, and it's so important in the game. Set pieces. Look at Arsenal and on the roof refuse what they get every time you get a corner or a set piece. But there was a few occasions yesterday where the ball coming on the near post, all the players went to, the ball went on the back post and all the players went on the near post. And if somebody just hanging around the back post, like a Milenkovic or whatever, to obviously head the ball back, because we've been pretty good at doing that, haven't we? We scored a goal against Chelsea doing that. I think it was Chelsea, I can't remember.
Yeah, the Chelsea, Milenkovic down to Wood, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So we've been okay this season on set pieces, but that just obviously it just put the cherry on top of the cake, didn't it, in terms of the performance yesterday. Even couldn't get set pieces right. So
everything was like last season or the season before, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yesterday just consign it to the bin, draw a line under it, and get ready for Brighton.
Well, not quite yet, because we need to talk about the other 4 goals that we conceded. 10 minutes into the second half, Bournemouth scored their second. It was a ball over the top to Kluivert. Of course it was. Forest, I think, were trying to play offside, so they had to scurry back. Kluivert got it past Williams into the box, and then it is an incredible leap from Dango Ouattara to get over the top of Murillo and head it into the back of the net. Now, Forest should have done a lot better stopping the cross, Tom, but that leap is immense, and Murillo hasn't done much wrong, I don't think, there.
No, I mean, if that was like Milenkovic, would probably he might have made it a bit harder for Tara. But yeah, it's a brilliant leap, and it's Cristiano Ronaldo-esque when he was in his pomp for Real Madrid.
I said that before. You're nicking my points, Tom.
I thought you was going to say it. Sure, I thought you was going to say it. So, but no, it's an unbelievable leap, isn't it? And he's directed the ball where you get told head the ball back where it's come from, and Celtic's got absolutely no chance. So it's a brilliant header. We probably might have done better by stopping it at source, but we didn't, and it's 3-0. 2-0. Sorry.
Well, it was 3-0 pretty soon after, wasn't it?
I've lost count. I've tried to get rid of this the memory of yesterday already. So
Hopefully you're still listening to the podcast and you've not switched off, everyone. Bournemouth did score the third a few minutes later. It was disallowed, but I think that goal actually summed the game up perfectly, because they were just a step ahead. They were 2 steps ahead in every sort of manner of the game. Forest were just reacting, couldn't live with how they were playing. That was obviously ruled out for a tight offside, but then shock, 2 minutes later, they did actually score a legitimate goal. And this was the one that was maybe the most surprising, because Ouattara, he just gets it from midfield, finds a way to stride towards goal, but he's got Milenkovic and Murillo, the 2 reliable stalwarts of our defence this season. And he somehow, with a loose touch as well, manages to drive into the box from a tight angle, get it between them and past Matt Sells. That's poor defending, Tom. I know those 2 have been fantastic this season, but you wouldn't expect them to concede a goal like that, would you?
No. And they just basically, I wouldn't say gave up, but it's pretty close, isn't it? It's just compounded the misery yesterday, and even though we've got still another 2 goals to talk about, but when the offside when the goal got ruled out for offside, you think, right, come on, Fosh, you got to basically get out to jail free card here. You get the next goal and it's game on. But no, 2 minutes later, we do that, and it's so disappointing. And I would have loved to have been a fly on that dressing room yesterday at full time, because of all the good things we've done this season. We've obviously eradicated all the 4 goals we've conceded from set pieces and etc. And we've defended pretty well this season, with obviously Milenkovic in there, Murillo obviously coming on leaps and bounds to be even better than the last season. But yesterday it was just crap, wasn't it? The defending was well below par, and ultimately disappointing, because that's not what we're about this season.
I don't think in that dressing room there'd have been any birthday celebrations for Nuno or anything like that. Let's finish it off then with the 2 goals that Bournemouth scored. Elanga had probably Forest's best shot of the game, or chance, in the second half. 82 minutes, a pop shot from the edge of the box that Kepa keeps out the top corner quite comfortably. Then at 3-0, Bournemouth decided, let's get another 2, shall we? They stepped the tempo up again. Ouattara's hat-trick came on the 87th minute, a Tavernier long shot spilled by Matt Sells and tapped in, and then they walked through Forest midfield again, 91st minute, worked it wide, and Semenyo slotted it into the bottom corner. We saw for the 5th goal more a mistake from Dominguez that saw them get through. But Tom, it's a bad day this season when Matt Sells makes a mistake as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that on the replay, but the ball does move a bit, and obviously it's come out, and yeah, he's not missing that, is he? And I think it's just a case of let's get on the bus or the plane. I know they flew down on Friday, didn't they, from East Midlands, and I think it's just a case of just let's get out of here and yeah, basically forget about this result pretty quickly. But yeah, it wasn't great goalkeeping, but like I said, I'm not going to criticise him because he's been fantastic, hasn't he? And he's kept us in games. The saves at Wolves when we was on the ropes there, and then obviously Liverpool, he's made some brilliant saves, hasn't he? And so yeah, I mean that's probably his only mistake really this season. Well,
Brighton away as well.
Brighton, yeah, with the free kick kind of thing. But yeah, two mistakes so far this season. It's not too bad, but yeah.
And didn't he make his debut at Bournemouth last year? Is that right? Yeah,
he did on the 1-1 when I can't remember who scored for them.
Is it Ouattara again, wasn't it?
Yeah, it must be. I was going to say him, Semenyo, or Clive, one of the three who do like to score against us, and then obviously Hudson-Odoi. But yeah, no, he's been fantastic this season, and hopefully it's just a blip in like a crap performance all around, and let's get it out of the system and work hard. And like I said a second ago, let's focus on Brighton now and just draw a line under this result. But Nuno touched on it on his post-match interview yesterday. It's 7 unanswered goals, isn't it? Which is a bit concerning. And if you look at we're probably like looking too much into it. I mean, we weren't great at Wolves, was we, for a period where on another day they could have like scored a few more, but they didn't. Obviously, kept a clean sheet, and obviously last week we thought the game was done and dusted, and Southampton come back into it, and they nearly got a point, didn't they, with Bednarek if Heine wasn't there. So yeah, it's just a matter of get back on the training ground this week, and obviously discuss where they went wrong and everything, and just focus on it. And hopefully it's just a one-off, because we haven't been battered this season, have we? Really, I mean, I know we didn't turn up against Arsenal and Man City and etc. But yeah, at least it's not like at least we haven't been thrashed too many times this season like we did for the first year in the Premier League. Every time we left an MG postcode, we got battered, didn't we? So hopefully we can obviously right the wrongs of yesterday and get back to winning ways on Saturday.
Yeah, well, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to look at some of the substitutions Nuno made. And as Tom mentioned, we'll look ahead to Brighton and maybe discuss what transfers might come on the back of this game. Full-time on the South Coast, Bournemouth 5, Forest 0.
The 1865 Match Report.
Hi, it's Rich here, and thanks as always for listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. Now, as promised, we have got an exclusive pair of tickets to give away for the audience with Billy Davies coming up at the Albert Hall on the 20th of February. In order to win 2 tickets for this event, all you need to do is answer the following question. So the question is, who was the first signing that Forest made, on loan or permanent, after Billy Davies took over as Nottingham Forest manager in his first spell? So who was Billy Davies' first signing as Nottingham Forest manager? To enter the competition, you need to email your answer to forestramble@gmail.com with the subject line Billy. That's forestramble@gmail.com and the subject line Billy. We will have a look at the answers after the closing date of the 4th of February, and the winner will be emailed with details of how to claim their tickets. So, who was Billy Davies' first signing as Forest manager? Email forestramble@gmail.com with the subject line Billy. We'll notify the lucky winner after the closing date of the 4th of February. Good luck!
Head to Whole Foods Market to jumpstart your January during our New Year boosting event with savings on feel-good favorites store-wide. Save on organic picks, wellness staples, and more all month long.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Hi, it's Rich again. Just before we go back to George and Tom in the studio, thank you very much to John Spark from Cherry's Red Army channel for giving us his thoughts on the match.
Hi there. Well, there's a lot of angles in which I could examine that game and wax lyrical about Bournemouth, but I mean, the reality of it is that Nottingham Forest just did not perform that well in the second half, and that was where the game was decided. I think the fact that we were able to restrict Wood completely from taking a single shot was massive for Bournemouth, because as much as there is a real level of creativity behind him, in obviously Hudson-Odoi was out injured, but you've got Elanga, who's very dangerous, you've got Gibbs-White, you've got Anderson. Wood's the clinical finisher in the group, and the fact that he never even took a shot is just, shows how fantastic the defence were at really sort of locking that down, as much as he was involved in some of the shots. But that clinicalness that Bournemouth have missed for quite a few games during the season has really come to the fore in the last week, after the 4-1 win against Newcastle, and now this one. Dango Ouattara has been very wasteful for a lot of the season, but was able to make use of his physical attributes for his first goal. Obviously, pounce on a mistake by Sells for his third, but I think Ouattara's second and the third of the game really just showed what Nottingham Forest really just missed in terms of the players not really being on it, because I don't have any idea what Murillo was doing half-arsing the block that he tried to make for Dango, because Ouattara miscontrols his dummy and it spits out into an area that's really easy for Murillo to stick his foot onto, but he's basically just given up after the attempted block, and I just don't know why. And I think that just sums up that the Forest players just were not on it, and as soon as Bournemouth got that first goal, it just played into our hands and prevented Nottingham Forest from playing the game that you want to play, which is to sit back and counter and take advantage of transitions. Whereas in the end, it was Bournemouth that took far more advantage of transitions, because of, on a few occasions, Nottingham Forest just not really making good passes or just being decisive in the important moments, even in the midfield. I don't want to rub it in too much, but suffice to say, it just was not a very good day for Forest, and it was a very good day for Bournemouth. But, there is this sort of idea that maybe every time Bournemouth got a good win, the other team has not been playing well, which has been the case for most of the big sides that we have beaten, and I would include Forest in that because of your position in the table. But you cannot say that every single time Bournemouth get a big result it's because the opposition team didn't play well, because eventually you're going to realise that it's because Bournemouth made them do that. And that early goal really did knock Forest players' confidence. It knocked the game plan, and we took advantage of it.
Hello and welcome back to 1865, the Nottingham Forest match report after the 5-0 loss away against Bournemouth. Now, I want to look at the substitutions before we sort of look ahead. And Morato came on, as he always does, about 70 minutes, and we went to a back five. Now, I sort of saw the sentiment around it as Moreno came on as well, maybe to get Murillo on the ball and to try and stop Bournemouth scoring any more, as they ultimately did. But I just thought bringing Morata on was a little bit weird. It's almost like, is it in his contract that he has to come on every single game? I think the only time I remember him not doing it was Liverpool at home. He waited till about the 90th minute. So did you agree that was a bit strange, maybe?
I wouldn't say it was strange. I could see where Mino was coming from. I think it was just a damage limitation exercise from them, and just keep it down to 2 or 3. And ultimately, it didn't happen because Morata come on, and you're having a bad day when 2 of your substitutions get booked. Yeah. So So I think Morata was one who got yellow carded, didn't he?
Yeah, him and Sousa, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Just bad day all around on the South Coast, and I can see why. I mean, Moreno hasn't played much football, has he? I know he started the game against Luton, and Nico's put a lot.
Yeah, he didn't do much wrong, did he? But Nico, once he came into that lineup, you couldn't drop him, could you?
No, and also with Nico, he wasn't great yesterday, but he wasn't our worst player. But he's still collectively in that team, which were bad yesterday as a team, weren't they? So, but now I could see why I brought Morata on and obviously just stem the tide a bit, but ultimately it didn't happen, did it?
No, and I was thinking as well, obviously Forest did a lot wrong, and we have mentioned how right Bournemouth did. Do you think that's the best performance against Forest this season, with how fluid they were, how confident they were, how they finished the job off? Is it up there, or do you think maybe Man City or Arsenal's performance against us counteracts that?
No, I think it's got to be up there, hasn't it? I mean, they put 4 past Newcastle last week, 5 yesterday, and let's not forget we've got a lot of injuries. Evan Nilsson's out, and a few others. Is Adam Smith out?
Yeah.
So they've got quite a lot of injuries. So and it was a bloody brilliant performance.
And they sold Solanke in the summer as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And obviously, the Turkish striker, he's out, isn't he?
Now, yeah.
So it was a brilliant performance. And I mean, you're always going to look good if the team you're playing against ultimately as a collective really poor. But Bournemouth played some really good stuff yesterday, and we were ruthless, weren't they? Smelt blood once the first goal went in, and the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. So, but no, it's definitely up there. I think the Man City one was a bit disappointing because of obviously the run we was on then, and the run what they were on. We thought we probably could have punished them a bit more, and the Arsenal game, basically we didn't turn up, did we? But 3-0 was obviously not as bad as 5-0. But yeah, yesterday they just went for the jugular, didn't they, and beat us 5-0, and we had to hold hands up, and we was poor, and they were brilliant on the day.
I know you like doing your sort of stadium rankings, and Bournemouth isn't going to be the best stadium, but it's easy when you're winning 5-0. They're probably one of the best atmospheres that we've been away at as well in a Premier League season. And I think we'd almost forgot what losing felt like as well a little bit as Forest fans. It's our first loss since City was about the 4th of December, wasn't it? So
records are always there to be beaten, aren't they? And I think it's ultimately disappointed the manner how we lost yesterday. I mean, if it was, because I was listening to another podcast leading up to the game from a Bournemouth perspective, and he basically predicted, he says there won't be a goal fest, it'd be a tie at 1-0, and obviously that theory got blown out of the water yesterday because of obviously how we performed. But ultimately, records they're going to be beaten, but you expect a bit better showing than what we showed yesterday.
But Forest are still third, and they've got Brighton next. I think that with the run of form, obviously Fulham and Newcastle away after that with the Exeter Cup game before, they don't look the easiest of games, which means Brighton at home, who I think have regressed a little bit under Herzl. I don't know if that's fair, but I don't think they're as strong as they were under De Zerbi or Potter before. And they're still a very good established Premier League side, but Forest, early kick-off time, have got to be going for that victory, confident they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, people was like saying in November, we've got a tough run of tough run of fixtures coming up with obviously you had the 2 back-to-back away games at Manchester, Everton, Villa, Spurs. And we'll come out of that with only a loss against Man City on that Wednesday night at the Etihad. So, no games are easy at this level, but we'll probably evaluate ourselves a bit this week and think, well, we'll have a poor game against Bournemouth, and let's get it right, and hopefully we can get a couple of signings in, just to give us that bit of a push. But it's been a fantastic season, hasn't it? This season, and I mean we're in the mix for Europe and everything. We're just going to obviously keep going, and hopefully, like I said, get a couple of signings in, and just give us that bit of a boost kind of thing. You just don't know, but yeah, I think ultimately it's going to be. These fixtures come far difficult, but like I said, you just got to embrace it and take one game at a time.
We'll just touch on transfers lastly. I don't think we want to be too reactionary and say that we need 5 or 6 new players, having last week saying we really need 1. But if you were the big man looking at that game, where would you think Forest need to strengthen? Obviously, Hudson-Odoi, depending on that injury, might be a place they look at, as well as up front, which was probably a priority as well. But where would you be looking at if you were him?
I think we need a striker. We've been saying that because, I mean, they nullified, obviously, the creativity from Forest yesterday, which meant Chris Wood wasn't as effective as obviously he relies.
So do you think a striker maybe that's a bit different to Chris Wood, maybe a bit pacier, a bit smaller, a bit more agile, or do you think someone similar?
No, I'd like a striker who we can get in behind. Basically, because you've got like Murillo who can pass the ball, Anderson can pass the ball, Gibbs White. If you've got that striker who's like looking to play off the shoulder of the defender, it might be a massive plus for us because Chris Wood's not going to do that. And that's not criticising Chris Wood. He's not that kind of player. With Chris Wood, you've got to play to his strengths, which we've been playing to his strengths for like the last season and a bit or whatever. But I think Awoniyi, I wouldn't say he's finished at 27. No player's finished at 27, but I think the injuries have got into his head now. He's like every run, he's like, oh, is something going to go kind of thing. He just doesn't seem that confident. Whether that confidence comes back, I don't know. But I think we do need a striker, and who that is, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see Cunha come because I think he's brilliant. I know people have questions about his attitude, but players like that are a bit of an enigma, aren't they? Cantona had a bit of a short fuse, and Bergkamp and players like that. So sometimes it's the makeup of the player, but if we can get somebody like that who can potentially take us to the next level, to make this season so we can do it again, kind of. We don't want to be like a flash in the pan. We want to be sustainable, stay up there with the likes of Villa, etc. I know we're not going to probably overtake the likes of Man City, Chelsea, and because of their finance and the players what they've got. But if you can stay around that mix of like the top 8 kind of thing and try and like deliver European football season after season, I just think we need probably a couple more players to take us to the next level. But like you said, we lost yesterday. We don't need six or 8 players coming, and that's just bloody stupid, isn't it? So just need that 1 or 2 players just to take us to that next level.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you, Tom, and thank you for listening as well. Finally, we can put that game in the past and not have to think about it again. Make sure, if you haven't already, to listen to part 1 of Tom and Stephen's 94-95 special. It's out now. It's on our podcast feed, featuring Mark Crossley, David Phillips, and Forest fan Martin Boscock. Tom, should we listen to that?
Yes, definitely. I've really enjoyed putting it together, going back to 94-95, and it's been really enjoyable to do, and obviously and looking back at that brilliant season, and hopefully we'll do the same this season with Forest still flying high in the Premier League despite the 5-0 defeat.
Yeah, you can find all the links to our social media and where to listen to at the words 1865.football. We'll be back later on in the week with the Friday 5 and then the report after the Brighton game. But have a good week and come on, you Reds. Thank you.
Podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.